National as we do every day on this show, and we're kicking things off by talking about the Winnipeg Jets, who were shut out by the San Jose Sharks last night. They've been shut out in 3 of their last 7 games. The Sharks have just 2 wins in their last 16 contests, and they both came against the Winnipeg Jets, who have just 7 wins in their last 21 games. Here's head coach Rick Bowness after the loss last night.
I'd say we created enough scoring chances that the offense gave us a chance to win the game. We just didn't score, and then the inconsistencies of some of our players is hurting us. You know, some of these guys think they're giving us everything in their tank. They're dreaming. So we got a lot of guys in there giving us everything they can, and we just need a few more guys to jump on board. It's not over. We're still in 8th spot, and we're going to find out what we're made of over the next little while. There comes a point where their personal pride has to take over. If someone has to go in there and point that out to them, then there's a big problem right there.
And of course, this is a Winnipeg Jets team that is trying to hang on to the final wildcard spot in the Western Conference. They've got just a couple of points up on the Flames, who had a solid win against the Kings last night, and the Predators, who are just 3 points back with a couple of games in hand, which makes them extra scary, in my opinion. And they beat the Boston Bruins in Boston last night. I'm sitting beside 2 former players from this league. You listen to a head coach say the things that Rick Bowness just said. As a player in that room, what are you thinking?
Coach is some kind of PO'd at us. I mean, he said more with his body language, and you don't have to know Rick Bowness well to know there's a wall of frustration and vitriol and pent up, maybe call it even anger, behind that countenance and some of the things that he didn't say. That he wanted to verbalize, but held himself back, because he really is. He's a great hockey man. He's a great coach. I put him in the category of a player's coach. You know, this isn't his nature to kind of come out to be that vocal, and I thought that was really vocal for Rick Bowness. But you know, it sends a message to the rest of the group. You're capable of a whole lot more. You're falling way short of the mark. And you know, reader, I don't have to tell you this, but for the benefit of anybody that may not be reading the tea leaves on all this, he's not talking about the bottom 6 forwards. He's not talking about the 5th and 6th defenseman, and he's not talking about the guy that's backing up Connor Hellebuck. He's talking about the best players on this team. Up front, it's Dubois. Up front, it's Wheeler, Scheifele, Connor. Yeah. I think this is one of the more underrated blue lines in the game today, certainly on the western side. Pionk, Morrissey, Nate Schmidt. That's a really nice back end. But this group is capable of more. I've been leaning in on these Jets for 3 years because this is kind of the way they've been built for a while and have fallen short. But I thought this was going to be a real breakthrough year for them. Thank goodness they padded things in the first half and they got a fighting chance. I mean, they're still clinging by fingernails to the last spot on the western side, wild card spot. But it's a very tentative existence for this group right now. And their coach, I mean, if he's saying not much in front of the cameras and he's that reserved in front of the cameras, they're catching an earful in the room right now.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't think the earful's working with these guys.
And, I don't think he's saying anything to them in the room based on those comments, because he said, if I have to go in there and tell them.
I played for Rick Bowness in Boston years back. Great guy, great coach. Has a passion for the game. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I don't think that same passion's in that room. And this isn't new. You know, Paul Maurice, Paul Maurice, couldn't get the best out of this team. And he admittedly said, they need a new voice because we're done. And it went back with big Dustin Byfuglien when Buff just said, I'm done with years on his contract, left millions of dollars on the plate. There's something going on within this room. This team at the start of the year with Rick Bowness took off. They're like, look at this group. They're scoring, their defense. They've got one of the best goaltenders in the game in Connor Hellebuck. They've got one of the best group of forwards who should be able to score. You look at those stats. You've got guys with no goals and 1 goal and 4 goals in 16 games, and their plus minus is double-digit minuses. Like, this isn't bad coaching. This is the players, for whatever reason, aren't playing as a team, not playing for each other. And Rick Bowness is absolutely exasperated. He's like, guys, we're 8 games, we're 2.5 weeks from the playoffs, and we can't find our game. And the talent's too much on this team. I think they will find it. I think they're going to get this thing turned around. And you can only have so many meetings. You can only come out so often. And I mean, this isn't the first time this year that Rick Bowness has commented about his team.
Define turned around, though. What does that mean? They're gonna get one of those last 2 spots.
They're going to play for each other.
Yeah.
That's the turnaround they need.
Turnaround mean they're going to make some noise in the postseason?
Put it this way: the players
Their
were
schedule. I mean.
Yeah,
they've got the Flames once. They win that game against the Flames.
I think there's very much a path.
That's going to put them there.
There's very much a path for this group in, but it's a dysfunctional bunch by the time they do qualify for the postseason. When that happens, to me, and especially the comments that Rick is making publicly, to me it resonates. There's a lack of buy-in in this room, and there's a lack of leadership in this room. He's calling that out in probably the most severe words you'll ever hear from a Rick Bowness. And again, there's a lot behind that countenance that he wanted to say, but caught himself. It speaks volumes about what's going on inside the Winnipeg Jets room right now.
I think you're right, because let's remember why Rick Bowness was brought in. Of course, Paul Maurice chose to leave, but when Rick Bowness came in, what did they say? Well, what did we hear? The speculation was they need to fix the room. They got to fix the room. They take the C off of Blake Wheeler. They make all these choices. And what's really shocking to me is that they've just fallen off a cliff. To borrow a phrase from, I believe it was Brian Burke when he was the GM of the Leafs. I mean, they're an 18-wheeler off a cliff. 7 wins in their last 21 games. They've been shut out 3 times in their last 7 games. They've lost twice to the Sharks, who, no disrespect, beat like nobody. And they're in a playoff spot still. I think they also are 1 for 29 on the power play or something over the last handful of games. Might be generous, says Dave Reed. Anyways, I guess what I'm saying is it's surprising to me based on some of the bright spots that we saw from the lineup earlier in the year.
You know what? Rick Bowness needs to put a mirror in everybody's stall in that room. And he talked about pride. You have to take pride in your performance and what you're doing. This team is a talented team. They're a very talented team, and when they're on their game, they're as much fun to watch as anybody. This team can score, they can play offense, they can shut it down. They're big, they can physical, great goaltending.
We were calling Josh Norrisy.
Yeah, but they're right now, and at the end of the comments, talking about taking pride and being a professional. This team has got enough time to say, all right, guys, and that might be the rallying cry that can turn it around, because once you're in, they can. To me, they've got all the elements to make up a championship team. They just haven't come together, and unfortunately, if they don't, this has got to be the last year of this group.
Oh, big change! If they don't make the playoffs, they're making massive.
You just can't say, well, you know what? Let's try it again. It's like you can't do it with Rick Bowness. You're not doing it with anybody.
Here's the part that's most puzzling, though. If Rick Bowness were standing up there saying these kind of things, early in the year, that would make a whole lot of sense. But go back to the timeline. Paul Maurice resigns, backs out of a job there because he says, and these are his words, I can't take this group any farther. Somebody else has to come in. And we're hearing all these things coming out of the room. There was dysfunction. It appeared that Bowness got that resolved as the letter comes off of Wheeler. So, then there is a really impressive spike in their performance. It's a very different team than the one we saw last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Were it not for that, we'd all be sitting here going, okay, the Jets have problems. How are they going to get it solved? But the point I'm making is this team tickled around the 1, 2, and even 3 spot in the Central Division for the first half plus. And now they've, it's been a steady drop to a point now. So my point is, and this is, the finer point I want to make here, what's going on now? Is it a lot of the same? Is it something different? But it's completely puzzling to me. I don't know if you have, Reader, but I've never been a part of anything like that in my NHL career. And I was part of some kind of quirky rooms here, here and there. But this one, they got it fixed. They were playing fabulous. And now it's more of the same, if not worse, from anything Paul Maurice disinherited.
Yeah, I've never been on a team or had that.
I've never had that experience.
I've been on teams where, guys may not want to go to dinner with each other. That's fine. But when you put the jersey on, it's like I'm your brother, and let's win. Let's do it, which is absolutely, there's the way it has to be. But in Winnipeg, I still think they're going to do it, though. I still think they've got it in them. I still think they're going to do it, and I trust. I know Rick, I know Bones, and I trust that he is going to be able to push the right buttons at the right time and get the guys there.
I believe they get there. I don't believe they're going to make much noise. I think they're.
No,
why would you believe that they're going to do something, right? Like it's like, what did Daryl Sutter say last year? Well, it'll be a waste of 8 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever. To play the Avs in the first round. Anyways, you were right. I was being generous about the power play. 1 for 30. Not 1 for 30.
You were way off at 29.
Way off.
Way off.
All right, time now for the highlight of the night from the Chipotle USA Hockey Youth National Championships. Desert Vista and Yorktown went head-to-head in pool play on Friday. Here's Yorktown's Jacob Kirschner on the breakaway, going 5-hole for an unassisted goal. In the end, Yorktown ended up losing the game, actually. But congratulations to Jacob for the highlight reel goal.
That's the move at center ice, the one-handed tap at center ice to take off on the breakaway. That's how I like Mario Lemieux or Tage Thompson. You're so big. Just give a little tap and jump by.
There. Jacob looks much bigger than the rest of his peers, and I'm telling you what.
Check the burst.
You can do all the things that the smaller average-sized players are doing in terms of your skill set, and in a bigger frame, you're harder to defend against. That's 2 big plays to put himself in scoring position. And dude can finish. Here's one little chip to himself.
There you go.
Inside, outside. Let me reach around here and drag that back to the other side, and then a tidy little tuck 5-hole.
Tendy did not like that one.
No,
Tendy saw that coming from about 145 feet away.
I'm going left on the back end, and it's like, nope, I'm going right. That's
great play.
That's a sweet
way to go, Jacob.
A highlight reel goal, for Jacob. Unfortunately, his team did not win the game.
Reminds me of a young Dave Reed.
Oh, wow. Look at you throwing out the
Dangleosaurus. Just a Dangleosaurus out there.
All right. Well, speaking of high-skilled players, coming up on the other side, Braden Point and Matt Boldy have been getting on the score sheet a ton of late. Stu and Reed are going to break down some tape next.